Hi everyone! In week 3 we're going to be discussing populations, and we're going to look at two different aspects of populations. We're going to talk about populations of living things in the natural environment. So we're going to think about the plants or the animals or the bacteria, the insects, or whatever kind of living thing you want to imagine. We're going to talk about how different factors influence how populations grow, and then also how populations would shrink. So that's part 1 of our discussion. We're also then going to be talking about human populations, because human populations don't follow quite the same pattern that we would expect a natural population to follow. And the reason for that, as you will see, is essentially all of the advances we have made in extending human life since the dawn of early agriculture and medicine and all of those other things that have enabled us as a species to continue to grow our number. And so that's why we have sort of a distinct discussion about populations in nature versus human populations. So for this week, a couple things that I want to point out before we get to assignments and materials. Just as a reminder, I do have the message forum here with the answers to the Socrative questions. So once again, for each week, I will be posting answers to the questions that you all write up on that Socrative survey. So the week 1 questions were posted last week. This week, I will go on to the survey and I will collect all of the questions that you asked for week 2, and I will answer those. So this is where you can find those answers. I just sort of wanted to show you that in context. Back to our learning modules. So here we are again. We're going to talk about sort of two similarly related topics, but we're going to kind of split them up a little bit. So in the lecture materials this week, you'll notice that I have 2 separate readings. So I have the reading from our environmental science or environmental biology book that we've been using, but I also have an additional reading here that is specific to human populations. Lecture and lecture notes, practice quizzes. So I see a lot of you are taking advantage of those practice quizzes and doing those each week. That's fantastic. It's again, a good way to make sure that you just kind of understand the content. And remember, it doesn't count towards your grade, so it's purely just as a way for you to see what you know. For lab this week, we've got the lab quiz, which again, the lab quiz is based on the ecosystems labs that you all completed last week. And then this week we have our population lab. I will tell you, because there were a few of you who seemed to be a little nervous about math and how much math you would need, I will tell you right now that this particular lab is the only lab that you really need to use a lot of math. We will use a little math in some of the other labs coming up. But this lab in particular does require a fair bit of math. Good news is that it is all very simple math, and also I make sure that I give you very specific examples to help guide you and walk you through what you're going to be doing. So even in the case of lab, not only do I have examples in the lab for you to work off of, in this case I give you some additional examples so you can see what it looks like. I can't really make a lab instructions video for this one because there isn't really a practical way to do that. But again, I try to give you as many examples as I can for you to work off of. If you find yourself getting stuck, if you find yourself it's just not working for you, send me an email and let me know, and I can definitely try to walk you through the steps. If you tell me what the stumbling blocks are, I can try to walk that through with you. So again, populations lab for this week. Oops. Go back to our week 3 folder here. And then our assignments this week include the discussion and the check-in. If you are the discussion leader this week, I have an entire set of instructions here and even a video that I've created on exactly what you need to do to set up the discussion forum for everyone in your discussion group to respond to. So remember, you're finding an article. It has to be related to the topic. In this case, it will be populations. You create a forum. You post your link to your article. You summarize it and respond to it, and then make sure that you do that no later than Thursday of this week so that all the other students have time to respond to it as well. This same set of instructions, you'll see it every single week. So if you're not the discussion leader until week 6 or week 7 and you can't remember what the specific instructions were, don't worry about it. You're going to see this same set of instructions in your assignment folder that week as well. So I'll continue to put this in all of the module folders so that you always know what you need to do. And in addition, as I'll mention here in the video, I'm also going to send you an email the week that you're supposed to be the discussion leader. I'll send you an email early that week that reminds you that you signed up to be the discussion leader for the week and also what the posting deadlines are. And then, of course, just the check-in survey. So short and sweet this week. Not a whole lot to discuss. I feel like we are hopefully getting into a rhythm of things. Again, you can kind of see what the flow and work expectations are for the class on a week-to-week basis because it's going to be basically the same as we continue to go along. I will be sending out a link to a survey here within the next week or so. If you have looked at the course schedule, you might have noticed at the end of the semester, we have some tentative materials that are going to be provided to us by a virtual exchange with a group called EDU Africa. So this is kind of like we can't take trips to places right now and interact with people, so we're going to take a virtual sort of study trip, if you will. We're going to do a 2 to 3 week module with the people from EDU Africa. This is in conjunction, not just our class. There's another biology class as well as Harper, as well as a physical geography class and an English class. We're all part of this group together. And the idea is that we're going to learn about very specific topics that relate to some pressing issues specifically in Africa, in the Mara. And so we're going to talk about conservation, we're going to talk about sustainability, we're going to talk about resource management, and we're going to do that in the context of also learning about on the ground what's happening in places like Africa and what do we see conservation efforts are going on and how is the community involved and who's making these decisions. So this is something that we're still working out the details for, I'll be completely honest with you, but part of what we're going to be doing is we're going to be having live sessions with folks from Africa, in addition to your instructors, and hopefully as many of you as we can get on these calls. So what I'm actually going to do is send out a survey asking you if you'll be able to participate in these 1-hour sessions. They'll be at 9 o'clock in the morning. We don't have a specific day of the week yet, although I will work to get that day for you. So I'm going to ask just in general what your availability might be for those 3 weeks, if you'd be able to participate. While participating in the live portion of the material is not required by any means, it's highly, highly encouraged, because all of the assignments for these 3 weeks are going to be built into what we're learning about. And there will also be some additional materials you'll see, some readings that will be posted, some videos that will be posted from the EDU Africa folks, and you'll be responsible for learning that content in order to complete the labs and in order to complete the discussion posts those weeks. So again, I'm just kind of trying to get a feel for how many of you would be able to participate in these discussions. So you can expect to get that survey from me. It'll come to your Harper email, and it'll probably be here in the next week or 2, because I have to get sort of a numbers for the folks there at EDU Africa, so we can see how many people would be on these calls. So we'll talk more about this in the coming weeks. Next week, I'm also going to talk about the first part of your Green Tech project. It's actually going to be due in week 4, and that is the topic brainstorm. So I have a whole video that you can watch to learn more about what the Green Tech project is and what the requirements are and what you're going to do. So you can look towards that video. Will be in the module 4 folder. So as always, please let me know if you have questions, and I will be in touch with you all later in the week. Thanks, everyone.